Ladies and gents, this is the kit. If you have a GY6A motor, 54 millimeter stud spacing, most likely you do if you bought a Honda Ruckus motor or you built a Honda Ruckus that had a motor in a box, or you just have a GY6 scooter that came factory with a GY6, most likely you have a GY6A. It's very, very common, which means that you have 54 millimeter stud spacing. That's what this is. Now they have the GY6B, which normally comes up in pieces. You can't buy the whole motor that way. And you can put a 67 millimeter bore in there. This is a 63. And it's very special because we teamed up with Tata to build it. It's a water-cooled 63 millimeter bore. As big as you can go, like I said. In order to make it fit in your engine cases, it's not a drop-in. You can't just take the cylinder and slide it into your cases. You got to pull the crankshaft and install one of these tools. This is a case boring tool. And see, it's got this little blade on the end. This bolts up as if it was a cylinder. And you hook up your drill with the clutch on, and you start cutting your cases. Okay? And once that's cut, now you're able to slide this cylinder into your cases. A very easy way, without taking your cases to a machine shop, to get this sucker to fit in there. Now we pair this with an 8.2 millimeter stroker crank. That's going to make this motor a 205 cc. So with the stock crank, it was a 180 cc, but we're doing an 8.2 millimeter stroker crank, which requires a spacer. Got this billet spacer that slides over like that, and we've got these two gaskets that go on each side of it. Otherwise, if we didn't use the spacer, because it's a stroker crank, the piston would pop out further than the cylinder. We don't want that. Not only that, it's ceramic coated. And the other cool thing is the piston rings have been measured and installed. So all we got to do is get it far enough to slide our crankshaft through, just like this. We don't have to pull the piston rings out at all. So there's that. Sweet. Something very, very important when you're running motors this big. It's going to be very hard to turn over that much compression and that much motor with the stock starter. So we upgrade the starter, of course, and our starter clutch. It's all part of the kit. Okay? Next thing is we've got the cylinder head. This has an intake valves that are gigantic. 30.5 on the intake, 26.5 on the exhaust. So that's a must if you're doing those big piston. And also the piston's been cut out to match that head. Next cool thing, very, very big necessity. This is the J300 cam. You see this little guy right there? That's going to open it up. This is basically a decompression lever. So see that? I can move this. As this spins, as it's cranking, your valve's going to open just slightly, allowing the motor to have not so much compression. But once it starts and it spins fast enough, through centrifugal force, this opens up and you just have a normal cam. And the head's been machined down so that that cam will work. Very, very big necessity when you're running these big motors. Of course, we got the longer timing chain. Just like you did, you put the spacer in there, you got to add more links to the timing chain. So there's that. Same with the timing chain tensioners. Those are longer. We've got our ProBld valve cover there. And then we're going to need to cool this sucker down. So we've got our 12-volt water pump. We've got our hose kit. Comes with all the hoses you need. Radiator cap. Thermostat, which goes right here on the radiator. You got our fan, that bolts to the back of this. And then you got your radiator. One more thing. We've got the oil pump. This is a high volume oil pump. We don't want to run the stock oil pump. It's not going to pump enough oil. So we got this CoSo billet high volume oil pump. This will come with the kit. The nasty 205 GY6A kit.